Have you ever stopped to think about a plant that was so important, so revered, that ancient civilizations used it for everything? Food, medicine, yet today, we literally spend millions trying to poison it? It's a crazy story, and we're going to get right into it. So, get this. This is the central paradox right here. For thousands of years in the ancient world, this plant was a straight-up superfood. It was a staple for civilizations all over the globe. But then you look at today, our modern world, and it's been branded a noxious weed. We've actually developed specialized poisons just to kill it. So how did a celebrated food become public enemy #1?
And we're not talking about just mild appreciation here. The respect for this plant, which is called purslane, ran deep. I mean, look at ancient Rome. The famous historian Pliny the Elder thought it was so powerful, he didn't just tell people to eat it, he told them to wear it as an amulet to protect themselves from evil. Now, whether it actually worked as a magic charm, who knows? But it shows you just how important this plant was in everyday life. And this wasn't just some Roman fad. We're talking about a global tradition spanning millennia. Archaeologists have found purslane seeds in prehistoric sites all across the Mediterranean. The ancient Greek philosopher Theophrastus wrote about it as a garden herb that people intentionally planted. Fast forward 1,000 years to medieval Italy, and it's listed as a normal, everyday food. And way over in the Americas, the Aztecs were eating it as a dietary staple.
So let's be crystal clear about this. For almost all of human history, purslane was a crop. It was something people grew on purpose. It was food. It was the green that anyone could grow, resilient, abundant, and full of good stuff. This whole idea of it being a weed is a super, super recent invention that just ignores its entire history. So, if it fed civilizations for thousands of years, what on earth happened? You'd probably guess that we discovered something awful about it, right? Nope. It's the exact opposite. The real turning point, the discovery that makes this whole thing even crazier, came out of a science lab in the 1980s. Okay, so picture this. Scientists are doing some pretty routine work, just analyzing the nutritional content of different vegetables. But when they got to purslane, they found something they had never, ever seen before in a land plant. They called it an unprecedented discovery. And honestly, it should have put purslane right back on the superfood map.
So here's the first number that just blew them away. In just 100 grams of fresh leaves, purslane had 300 to 400 milligrams of ALA. That's a type of omega-3 fatty acid, the good fat that's amazing for your brain and heart. This amount was, and still is, the highest concentration ever found in any leafy green vegetable on the entire planet.
But wait, it gets even weirder. They also found EPA. Now, EPA is an even more powerful omega-3 that you're supposed to only get from fatty fish, like salmon. Finding it in a common land plant was just wild. It was like discovering a fish that could grow in your garden.
And the shocking discoveries just kept on coming. Let's talk vitamin E. We all think of spinach as being super healthy, right? Well, spinach has about 2 milligrams of vitamin E per 100 grams. Purslane has over 12. That is 6 times more. 6! And the list just goes on and on. It's one of the best vegetable sources of vitamin A you can find. It's jam-packed with powerful antioxidants like glutathione. It's rich in minerals we all need: potassium, magnesium, calcium. And get this, the protein can make up more than a quarter of its dry weight. This thing isn't just a superfood, it's a nutritional powerhouse, plain and simple.
Okay, so this leads us to the billion-dollar question, right? We have a plant that blows things like kale and spinach out of the water, nutritionally speaking. It grows in terrible soil, it survives droughts, it doesn't need any fertilizer or pesticides. It's basically free food that grows itself. So why isn't it in every grocery store? Why are we all taught to kill it?
Well, the answer is kinda blunt, but it's simple. A plant like purslane is the exact opposite of what our modern industrial food system is built on. It's self-sufficiency, it's resilience. That makes it an economic nightmare for a system that runs on dependency and control.
Let's break down exactly why it's a problem for that system. First off, no patents. It's ancient, it belongs to everyone, so you can't license it and make money. Second, no inputs. It doesn't need your special fertilizer or your expensive pesticides. And third, and this is the real kicker, you can't create seed dependency. A single purslane plant can make 250,000 seeds. You can't force farmers to buy new seeds from you every year when the plant makes an endless supply for free. It just completely breaks their profit model.
So what do you do with a plant you can't profit from?
Well, you rebrand it. You turn it into the enemy. And that's exactly what happened. A whole industry was basically built to do just that, to suppress it. And here's the official label they slapped on it: noxious weed. This isn't just a casual term, it's a formal government designation. And it's not a minor one either. Purslane is officially listed as one of the top 10 worst weeds in the world. Think about that irony. The most nutritious leafy green on the planet is officially classified as one of the most harmful. And once you have that label, you can build a whole system around it. And it's a big system. You've got agricultural universities publishing guides on the best ways to kill it. You've got huge chemical companies creating and marketing herbicides just for it. You've got lawn care services you can hire to come poison it for you. Even government-funded research isn't focused on how to grow this amazing food, but on finding better ways to exterminate it.
So let's be real. This was a deliberate rebranding. A plant that sustained humanity for millennia was reframed as a threat to big agriculture, a threat to perfect green lawns, and most importantly, a threat to a business model that needs you to keep buying things. Its whole identity was flipped from sustenance to menace. And this really gets to the heart of two totally different ways of thinking about food. On one side, you have industrial agriculture. The goal there? Profit. And that system loves crops that need patented seeds and chemical inputs year after year. On the other side, you have ecological knowledge. The goal there? Sustenance. That way of thinking values plants like purslane that are tough, self-sufficient, and feed people without needing a corporation in the middle of it all.
But here's the really cool part of the story. You can spray all the poison you want, but you can't erase thousands of years of history. The plant itself survives, stubbornly growing in sidewalk cracks, and the knowledge about it survives too, just in the margins of that big industrial system.
Because while many of us have been taught to hate it, it is still a beloved food all around the world. In Mexico, they cook verdolagas with pork. In Greece, it gets tossed into fresh summer salads with feta and olive oil. In Turkey, they mix it with yogurt. And get this, in places like Egypt and Sudan, it's not even something you forage. It's grown on farms and sold in markets, just like spinach is here.
And this really brings the whole story right back to our own backyards. It makes you ask a pretty uncomfortable question. What if that pesky weed you're always pulling out of your garden or paying someone to come spray is actually the single most nutritious food growing for miles around you?
When you really look at it, the story of purslane isn't about a plant that's a failure. Its toughness, its nutrition, its stubborn will to live, those aren't problems. The real argument here is that purslane is an indictment of a system that too often values profit over actual nutrition and dependency over self-sufficiency.
And this quote just nails it. It was labeled noxious not because of a scientific verdict on its health value, but because of an economic one. They couldn't package it, patent it, and sell it back to us. Herbicides weren't a solution to a health problem, they were a solution to a control problem.
And so that's the final thought I want to leave you with. If this could happen to purslane, a plant with a long and storied history as a global superfood, it really makes you wonder, doesn't it? What other plants are growing right under our noses, the ones we've been taught to hate, that are actually forgotten foods? What else don't we know?